Before we get into today's Hippopotamus Defense video, I wanted to mention that I'm giving out a 30% off discount code to my over 6-hour course on the Hippo Defense, which I played as both white and black to reach the National Master title. And if you're interested in that, all you got to do, go down in the description below, go down the pinned comment, click the link, plug in the discount code 2024, and you receive 30% off on that Hippopotamus Defense course or any other course you decide to invest in on the platform. I recently got the chance to play against Grandmaster Alexander Rusmatov in Titled Tuesday. At the time I played him, he had a rating of 28-31, so obviously a very strong online blitz player. And he starts this thing off with the move of d4. And my favorite opening in all of chess, the Hippopotamus Defense, that's what I go with in this game. I go with 1, 2, and 3. e6, knight e7. This is all pretty standard stuff. The moment I see e4, it's like, okay, that bishop's no longer a threat on our rook. Let's play b6. Let's fiend kiddo that light sword bishop quickly. And against the move of queen d2 here, I went with the move of rook to b8. The reason I played rook b8 is because when you have two fiend kiddoed bishops eyeing each other like this, there is tension. And sometimes there's some tactical ideas that the opponent can use against your bishop if it's hanging. However, now our bishop on b7, it's no longer hanging. It's protected, and that's good for us. So white can't try any tactical ideas, pushing this pawn at some point, moving the knight, attacking a hanging piece. At this point, look, it's defended, and whatever you do on this side of the board now, we can really focus on it without having to worry about our bishop on b7 too much. All that to say, though, knight f6 here is a very good move to play. I still like rook b8, but yeah, knight f6 here is a move that the engine really likes, putting pressure on e4. And look, if our opponent wants to lock the center of the board up, we're good with that. If we see a move like d5, we'll lock it up with the move e5. If we see this move e5, in this case, knight g4 is a good idea. This bishop is pouncing down on this very nice diagonal. We now have 1, 2, 3 pieces all putting pressure on e5. If white wants to take, we'll capture back with our pawn. Now we have a very nice c file to work with, one in which case we're probably going to put our rook on c8 at some point. If a move like bishop f4 trying to save the bishop, all right, we can play g5, trying to kick that bishop around. And if you go back, we can play rook c8. As I mentioned it, this is a great spot for our rook. And if a move like b3, castling the king's side, according to the engine, black has a better game here. And if a move like queen c2, going, you know what, I'm not going to push either of these pawns. I'm just going to keep my 3-pawn center. We can still go after that bishop, and if you try to save it, c5, putting pressure on this pawn. We got to always assess what's the weakest pawn in the center of the board for white. What's the biggest target? In this case, e4. It's protected twice. d4, only once. Let's go after it. In this case, knight b5. We're not worried about it because d6 is defended. And if white takes, we can capture back towards the center, play a move like queen b6, and just continue playing some solid chess. But in the game here, I play the move rook b8. I then play the move knight f6, and Rusmatov very quickly plays the move of h3. So this is a blitz game. I'm assuming he wasn't expecting the move of knight f6, so he just plays h3 pretty quickly, but in that case, I'm able to capture off on e4. I'm now up a pawn, and after rook ad1, I end up playing knight f5. The moment that e4 pawn drops, you got to realize that there are weakened squares, particularly f5, and that's a great spot to put your knight into, whether you win the pawn on e4 or whether that pawn pushes. In either case, f5 is a great spot. So bishop f4 is played. At this point, I go, you know what, I'm going to take off that piece and then win the pawn on d4, right? Win the pawn on d4. So here, Rusmatov, right? I mean, that position just moves the bishop. This is a common mistake. This is a common mistake because all of a sudden, this pawn has less defense. We're able to capture off this knight. Now, it's true. When we attack attackers and defenders, we have 2 attackers, white has 2 defenders. In order to win the trade, we need an extra attacker versus a defender, right? So if it's, let's say our opponent has 4 defenders, we need 5 attackers to win that exchange. If we have 4 defenders and they have 4 attackers, we're good. But in this case, yes, it's 2-2. So technically we lose the trade, but here's the thing. When we play the move knight takes d4, it is true that, yes, white can win that. White can take and take and take, and they technically, right, they win the exchange by the numbers, but we're up 5 points in material. Why is that? Because when we take with the knight, the first thing that white can capture with is the queen. So in this case, it doesn't matter how many rooks. Obviously, a chessboard only has 64 squares, but let's just say you had 1,000,000 rooks behind the queen, you're still going to lose material because you're giving up your queen first for only my minor piece. And hopefully that makes sense. Let me know if it does down below. But you don't want to just look at attackers and defenders, but the order in which your opponent is capturing, right? Like, for example, going back, if this rook and queen were switched, I'm not taking on d4. I don't think that's a great idea. But since the queen is there, let's capture off. Now, bishop g2 is played. I end up going with g5, kicking that bishop back. Here, knight f5, not a bad move. It's the second best move in the game, but c5 is best. c5 is best. Just hunkering that knight in there. What is white going to do? White cannot kick the knight out. If you capture, the bishop calmly takes back. Great support for that minor piece. And if a check, king f8, we're winning. Going back, I play move knight f5. I then play king f8 when responding to check. b4 is played. And here the engine actually likes to move a6, probably, really just trying to not allow white to play b5, locking our pawn structure up on the queen side. I play the move knight takes e3, but if we do see a6 and b5 now, well, we're not locked up anymore. Our pawn's not on a7. It's not like this pawn can't push to a6 or a5. In fact, in this case, we can take, and if the pawn captures back, play a move like d5, advancing in the center of the board. This is, believe it or not, a protected passed pawn on d5, d4 ideas in motion. And again, a winning position for the black side coming out of the Hippo against a 2800 GM. But in this game against b4, I end up capturing off that bishop. And against f takes f3, I end up going with the move of queen f6. Okay, good move there, queen f6, just trying to activate. Now against the move rook f1, I need to listen to my own advice. I talk all the time on this channel about, look, if you're up material, trade down. In this case, guys, I'm up 2 pawns. Trade down. Trade down with queen b2. If a move like queen e1, avoiding it, bishop c3. If white wants to take, we capture back. We're up 2 pawns. We're up 2 pawns in the game. Black's winning this. Okay, now going back, I play the move queen e5. Still better, but I should have offered a trade there. And I'll play f5. e4 is played. I end up playing f4. This is the engine move. At this point, white has a pawn and a battery ram going after f5. I'm not going to be able to stay up 2 pawns here, so I might as well just give a pawn back, and that's what we see here, right? We're still up a pawn. We're still up a pawn. Rook df1 is played, and I see that there's a lot of pressure here. I played the engine move, bishop d4 check, and here was my big mistake. I played the move of rook bf8. Now, I know I was just talking about, look, if we're up material, trade down, but not always, particularly when you have opposite colored bishops. Okay, and this is kind of, a big theme that I wanted to just talk about in this video for a little bit. Bishops of opposite colors, guys, these are very drawish endgames. Okay, we've all seen it before, right? Or most of us probably have the endgame position where someone's up 2 or 3 pawns, but it's bishops of opposite color, and because of that, you're in a position where you just can't make any progress, right? And this is kind of one of those things. I play the move of rook bf8. Let's just see how the game ends here. So here we see Rusman 12 take. I capture back, right? And we trade down. At this point, I'm thinking, oh, I'm up material, let's trade down. But I'm not up 2 pawns here. I'm up only 1, and rooks are on the board. Or rooks are not on the board in this case, okay? And that's not good. So if after king g2, we end up just agreeing to a draw here. I think he offered me a draw, and I accepted it. It's like, at this point, what am I going to do? There's no way to actually win this position. I mean, let's just say I move my king in to e5, king g4. I can't win this pawn. This bishop can't help win this pawn. This bishop can't do anything against any of white's pawns right now. Nothing at all. Sure, I can play bishop e3 and try to, get my king some space, but then bishop d7. White going, you know what? Take, fine. I'll take your pawn on e6. King f5. This king can't win this pawn. I can go for this pawn on a2, right? That's one thing I can go for, but at the end of this, right, both kings getting busy, but you're just going to finish out with a position where it's like neither side can really do much at all, right? I mean, let's just imagine for a second these pawns aren't here, and white ends up taking off this pawn. How does either side make any progress? You can't. You can't do it. It's going to end up being a draw. So what I would say is that trading down is a great idea when you're up material, especially in a position like that, right? You're up 2 pawns, trade down. In this case, you're up 1 pawn, which is still a great idea in terms of trading down. That's a great idea. If you're up material, trade down. However, I want to keep at least 1 rook on the board so that my opponents can't just set up some kind of fortress with opposite colored bishops, right? So this move of rook bf8, I had a winning position, and then it went to a dead draw based off of that 1 move. What should I do here? Rook h7. Stop this threat. What can white do now? Nothing. White's stuck. White can't do hardly anything at all. c5 is not going to work. We have too much there. b5, okay, that didn't make any progress. And black here, right? I mean, if we move like rook g4, we can play h5, a6. Just keep slowly making progress here. Slowly making improvements. And in a position like that, we can play bishop c3. Here we can offer a trade. That's fine. right? It's only one rook. We still have rooks on the board, which doesn't allow my opponent to set up a fortress with the light squared bishop. In this case, rook g5, play h4. Can play h4, right? If these rooks are off the board, guys, there's nothing I can ever do to win this pawn. There's nothing I can ever do to win this pawn, ever. Right? But with this rook here, things get a little bit more dicey. Rook h5, I can play rook f4. If check, I can bring my king up. Sure, you can take that pawn. I'll take yours. You know, this game is going to continue here with our rook getting busy, looking to go after that pawn on a2. And we're not going to be stuck in some little race where both kings are racing to take off a pawn. Like, my rook is going to get very busy in this kind of position. If a move like rook a7, a5, locking that up. If you want to attack it again. At this point, you know, I kind of like the idea of bishop c5. I like that move. Just really holding down the fort, continuing to go after that pawn. If a4 here, what do we do? Well, a lot of different things that we can go with. I mean, even king e5, that's a great way to just make some progress. Let's say this rook just makes a move, because what else are you going to do? We can keep making progress with our king here. If you make another move, we just take, right? So let's say you try to defend that pawn. Oh, wait, the pawn on e4 drops, right? So positions like this, when you have rooks on the board, they make it a lot more dynamic. They make it so that it's very hard for either side to set up a fortress. So just keep that in mind. The general message of this game is that you want to trade down, but be careful when you see opposite colored bishops, and make sure, if you can, that there's something besides just the bishops. If you're on the defensive side and you're down material and you want a draw, let's just say you're not, it doesn't matter whether you're up or down. If you want a draw really bad, going into opposite colored bishops can be a great way to do that. It's not always a draw, but it often is. It's a high risk, quote unquote, for a draw when you have opposite colored bishops. When you have bishops on the same color, not so much. Right? Not so much, because the bishops can actually interact with each other. They can make some kind of threat against each other. They can fight for the same squares. These bishops here can never see the same squares at all. And that makes it very easy for either side to make the other bishop irrelevant. Peace. Guys, I hope y'all enjoyed today's video. And just a quick reminder that in addition to the 30% off all online courses sale this month, we wanted to also give a 20% off sale on our physical merch all December. We got shirts, hoodies, mugs, and more on the merch shelf below, and we got a lot more on the website. So check them out and use the code WINTER20 for 20% off. On top of that, I wanted to give a big shout out to my Patreon supporters for the month of December in 2024. I appreciate you guys a ton. It's been great getting to know you. And yeah, I'm just humbled by your support. And if you guys haven't thought about joining the Patreon community before, there's some exclusive benefits that you gain by becoming a member. And I look forward to seeing you over there on the platform. Peace.